Welcome to the Mary Mac Show, where we will be talking about your feelings, experiences, and pain following the death of a loved one. Hello, everyone. This is Mary Mac of the Mary Mac Show. And I'm so thrilled to be welcoming Samantha. And she is assisting me with this podcast series for bereaved mothers. And she's going to be talking about her stillbirth death of her young son, Ace, who is only 34 weeks old when he passed away, when he was stillborn. And recently, she unfortunately also endured a miscarriage, a pregnancy loss. And so I wanted to welcome her today. She's coming to us from Frisco, Texas, which is north of Dallas. So thank you, Samantha, for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to share my story, maybe help another mother get through, the process of grieving the loss of a child.
Definitely. So you became pregnant in 2021 in the middle of COVID, naturally, which was wonderful because you had mentioned that at some point earlier you had undergone infertility treatments. So that was a blessing. And at 16 weeks, Ace was diagnosed with Down syndrome in utero. And unfortunately, at 34 weeks, you did not find a heartbeat any longer. Is that accurate?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Can you take us behind the scenes where you still weren't pregnant yet? You were hoping to become pregnant. And then the pathway through with your husband, Albert.
Yes, of course. So, I got married in 2016. And of course, we were excited. We were a little bit older, in our 30s, but we were excited to start our family. I was told many years ago that I had something called polycystic ovarian syndrome that a lot of women have. I cannot exactly explain what it is, but I know that I was told by many doctors, like, having a child is going to be difficult for you. So Albert and I, when we moved to Dallas from West Texas, we found a fertility doctor and we started getting treatment. So we weren't getting like any kind of IVF yet. We were just starting out with medication and stuff like that. So COVID hit and we hadn't gotten pregnant yet. So we just kind of went on, COVID, a lot of things happened. I lost my job, got a new job. And then after Christmas, the beginning of January in 2021, I knew something was not wrong with me, but I was a little off. I was crying in a Whataburger parking lot. Here. And so I took a pregnancy test and I just remember we were going to eat dinner and I just ran to the bathroom real quick and I took the test and I told my husband and we both sat down We were just like staring into space. We didn't even know what to say to each other. We were like, oh my God. So we were just thrilled. Of course, the next day I called a doctor. I found a doctor because I didn't even have an OB. And I was just happened to go be visiting my parents that weekend. So it was really exciting to tell them they don't have any other grandchildren. So
Oh,
everybody was just, we were just very happy, excited, celebrating, the thought of our child, our new addition to our family.
wow. That's wonderful. And then, as time moved on, and you were in the thick of the pregnancy, how are you feeling? Was everything seemed to be okay?
Well, you know, I really didn't know what to expect because obviously I had never been pregnant before. I
Mhm.
do have diabetes, so I was dealing with that, but it's a struggle anyway. But at this point, my whole perception was I have to be healthy. I have to do everything I can to make sure that the baby's healthy
Sure.
because that can affect the child. And so I'm just going along, doing what I can, enjoying it like women do, feeling that first kick, having my husband feel my belly and, just kind of growing and, just I was enjoying myself, but there was a lot of things going on internally with him that was a little bit stressful as well.
Mhm. And when did it come to the point when you were going to the doctor that they let you know that he was Down syndrome?
So they do, especially when you're older, I believe. Obviously, when you're over, I think 35, you're considered high risk,
Hmm.
and diabetes and things like that, you're definitely a higher risk. They did a genetic testing. I didn't get the amniocentesis. I just
Hmm.
got the genetic testing. And it was 16 weeks, I believe. And they called me up and they told me I didn't really understand what they were saying. They sent me to a maternal fetal medicine doctor at
Okay.
another hospital. So what her job was to watch. I would see her like once a month at first, or once every other week, I think. And she would measure him and she showed us like where his nose was um shorter, I guess, and like his limbs were a little bit shorter as time progressed.
You mean
And then
in the sonograms?
yeah.
Okay.
So she also set us up with all the education that we needed. Um she set me up with a woman who had a 10-year-old daughter with Down syndrome to kind of mentor me and guide me and just explain, show me what I needed to know. So we did our research. We were like, this is our son. We're
Yes.
going to find him the best schools he needs to go to. We're going to find him everything he needs to be able to thrive with
Right.
Down syndrome.
Did you and your husband ever consider any other options besides bringing the baby to term and raising him?
No, we really didn't because that just wasn't on my radar. Even
Mhm.
though I definitely do not judge anybody for their decisions they make in that situation, it just wasn't what I wanted and what we wanted for him. We felt like he deserved a chance.
That's wonderful. And in that process of learning all that you needed to know about how to help him to grow and thrive, and speaking with the other mother, how did that all come together?
Well, the doctor introduced me to her and she's very, very helpful. We never actually got to meet in person,
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay.
We talked on the phone and text, but everything that she told me, like, her story, how she explained it to me and how she, and I even have her on social media and I see her daughter growing and learning and experiencing things and it's really sweet. But um I think it did educate me a lot on the whole syndrome, what exactly it's doing. Basically you're missing a chromosome. Your development's a little bit slower than other children. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be handicapped your whole entire life. There are some cases where, it's a little bit more extreme than others, but you can be, a successful person. You can just grow up and, do everything that someone who has all of their chromosomes can do. Like, it is possible.
Yeah. I know that Tim Tebow, he's a football player and he has a foundation. And once a year, they have this event where all disabled people are celebrated, and they wear crowns for the girls and the guys, and everybody gets all dressed up and fancy, and it's all over the world. They have these events all over the world for these wonderful children, and I've seen it on social media, and I think it's just great.
That is great.
So,
That is really
yeah.
great.
So would you take us to the day where you went to the doctor and learned that he had passed on?
Yeah. So it was a Monday. I remember that. The day before I actually had a baby shower.
Oh, wow.
My coworkers, my friends, my family came down. We had a baby shower. And at this point, I'm going once a week. She wanted me to deliver at 38 weeks. Um, so my husband just happened to take the day off. He wasn't all going with me to all my appointments, but for some reason, he's like, yeah, I took Monday off and I'll go with you. And I just remember not really thinking much. We went in. Um, there's a tech that comes in and she does your scan, your ultrasound, and she just said, "Okay, the doctor will be in." She's not going to really say much. It's not her place to say much.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband was a little like, something doesn't seem right. And I was like, "Oh no, we're fine. It's fine. We've made it this far. We're fine." And the doctor came in and she just looked at me and she goes, "Samantha." And she was like, just the look on her face, like she was so distraught.
Oh,
She said,
wow.
"Ace is gone." And I sat straight up off that thing and I said, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yeah.
And she said, his heart's not beating. And my husband said, "Can you check again?" And I mean, I know she was just doing it just for our peace of mind, but she said, "Yeah, yeah." And she ran that thing over again and she said, "No, I'm so sorry, guys. There's no heartbeat." And I could hear my husband crying. And
Oh,
I had no, like, I was so like in shock.
yeah.
And she just said to me, like, "I'm going to give you guys a minute, but and then my husband, he's like, what are we going to do?" And I said,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what happens next. And, we both cried and we held each other for a minute. And she came back in and she said, "Okay, well, I called labor and delivery. Um, we're going to have to induce. You're going to have to deliver him. You're very far along that you're going to have to deliver." And we were like, "Okay." And at this point, like, I have so many emotions running through me. I'm scared. I'm sad. I don't know what's going to happen. So we go over to labor and delivery. Between then and there, I have to call my family. My husband has to call his family, his mom, and just let them know what happened. And, my parents at this point, they lived 4 hours away. They had just
Oh,
left. They
wow.
turned right around. They had left the day before. And my sister, I have a sister who's 2 years younger than me, who is pretty much my best friend in the whole wide world.
Oh,
She was so broken up. It was, it was almost hard to tell her because she was so excited. Like, she was so happy for me. She probably paid for every piece of baby furniture I have. Like,
oh.
I don't think I paid for anything. I have a whole room. She came and put it together, and it was telling her it was hard because I knew how excited she was, even though, it was hard for all of us.
Mhm.
But, you know, so we went to labor and delivery and
Now, were you already having your appointments like at the hospital?
Yeah, the hospital that I was going to, it's called UT Southwestern in Dallas. It's a very big hospital. The offices, it's a huge campus, so I just
Okay.
had to go to another side of the campus.
I see.
And the reason I had chose that hospital is because they told me, you know, we have the best NICU here in Texas. So
Okay.
I
Neonatal unit.
knew, yeah, I knew that once he was born, he was going to need a good team of doctors that worked in nurses and stuff from the NICU.
Hmm.
And I'll say this, if anybody ever is going to have a baby, go to UT Southwestern. I had the best care. I mean, these nurses and doctors were so compassionate,
Oh,
so caring. I can't remember their names. I can't remember their faces, but I remember how they made me feel. And I felt very comfortable. And, they put a little butterfly on the outside of the door so
oh,
that,
wow.
because that's like the symbol, I think, for miscarriage and stillbirth.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, they make sure it's quiet. They
Right.
make sure that that you're comfortable. And they just took really great care of me.
Oh, that's phenomenal. We'll have to make sure we put a little something in the show notes to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
Wow. And after he was born, did you bury him? Did you cremate him?
So we had him cremated, actually. I decided, and it was really weird, like my emotional state. So I really didn't cry too much until I guess I was in such shock.
Yes, absolutely.
And I held him and they left him next to me and I got to just be with him for a while. Um, you know, but we decided that we weren't going to we already said goodbye. We held him, we said goodbye. Albert and I, we said, we're not going to have a funeral. I don't want to go through that emotion, that sad, I don't want to deal with that again. So we
Mhm.
had him cremated and, we have a little urn. It's a tiny little heart. And I have like a little shrine to him, I guess. I have
Mhm.
little letters with his name and I have that and like a picture of him um, from his sonogram and just like a cute little altar shrine to him.
With his keepsakes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
And how did you decide on his name? Because I love his name. His name is Ace.
So my husband, his name is Albert and he's named after his father, whose name was Albert.
Hmm.
And his cousins all have A names. And he was like, he has to have an A name. And I said, that's what you want. So I, went online, I Googled baby name, A names, and I went through name after name after name after name. And I said, I like this. And that's how I picked it.
That's wonderful. I'm glad. So you said to me that you went somewhere to spread his ashes.
Yeah, we went to Galveston Island, which is off the coast of Texas in close to Houston. It's a spot that we visit often.
Hmm.
We had to go a lot. We rent a home, a little vacation home down there, and it's a fun place. It's very important to us. I think we always, for some reason, that's just where we gravitate to. We always go there. We do have family down in that area, and we were so excited to take him there one day. You know, we're excited to take him to the beach. My husband loves the beach. It's his favorite place to vacation. So we decided that we were going to take him there. And just him and I went on his first birthday. We went down there and got a little condo and threw his ashes and said goodbye.
That must have been a difficult day.
It it wasn't it was hard, yeah. I mean, there were so many moments in this whole process. The day that we went, when they called us, they said that the ashes were ready. We sat in that car We pulled up to the funeral home. We sat in the car and we cried, holding, the little box, seeing, and it's just like the times when you get emotional, you never really can tell when it's going to come. You really can't.
Right. When the reality kind of kicked in after you came home from the hospital and you still have all the furniture and you still have the clothing and you just had your shower, how did you deal with all that?
I honestly so I took about 2 months off of work. I worked for, at this point, I'm working for Estee Lauder Companies, which is cosmetic. I worked in a store that they had, and they give great benefits for women. So I had 6 months, but I took two, and I came
Wow, that's
home.
wonderful.
Yeah, they do give you a really good, for women, they give really good maternity leave, especially here in America. It's not always the greatest. But, I just laid on my couch. I watched TV. I ate a lot. I ate whatever I wanted. And I just watched a lot of TV, and I just cried in the evenings, especially, and I would just cry and cry. And it was hard because my husband was there for me for a week, and then he went back to work, and then I was alone, and I would just lay in bed. I was depressed. I was sad. I was hurt. I was so mad. I just
Yeah.
didn't understand. I some I would have been the best mom to this child, and I would have taken such good care of him, and I just didn't understand why. I tried so hard and I prayed so hard, and why he was taken from me. And I had to remind myself, I had to tell myself that God chose me to carry an angel for him.
What a wonderful way to think of it. Wonderful way.
Because he's in heaven. He's waiting for me to get there. And one day we'll be together again. We'll be a family. And that's really of course I was angry. I was like, why? But then I started to, pray on it and think about it, and just realize that his quality of life would not have been good. He would have not been okay, and he was sick. And now he's watching over me, and he's watching over Albert, and he's waiting for us, and one day all three of us will be together, and whoever else comes along between now and then.
Mm-hmm. Your family.
Mhm.
How has your relationship with Albert been?
You know, I read a lot. I follow, the I went to the Mend, the support group that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Rebecca.
know, Rebecca has, and
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot of women's comments on social media, on Facebook and stuff, about, how they, it's caused divorce and all this kind of stuff. And my relationship with Albert got so much stronger because
Wow.
we went through something together, and he was there for me. He held my hand. He cried. He dealt with his own pain on his own. He was so focused on me healing and me being okay. And I remember he looked at me and he goes, "Please, Samantha, don't let this take your joy. Don't let this change how happy of a person you are, and
Right.
how don't let that change you. I I don't want you to lose who you are." And that really resonated with me, because you don't really realize what you mean to other people, or how your personality, or how you expose yourself to other people, how much that matters to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I want to be okay for him. I want to be okay for, my future children, for my friends, for my family. And I want them to know that I am sad and I miss him, but I'm going to be okay. Mm.
So would you Now, please tell us the unfortunate news about how you bravely became pregnant again and what happened.
Yeah, so we decided, because we automatically were like, we'll try again, and it's, I'm 39 now, so it's been almost 2 years um, since I found out I was pregnant with Ace. And so I said I had to get a new job in, I guess it was in October. So I said, let me be at this new job a little bit, fresh start in the new year. So I guess it was March 10th. I think March 10th. I took a pregnancy test. I was pregnant. And Albert just happened to be on a business trip and he was coming home at like 10 o'clock that night. And I could not wait. I was so excited to tell him. He comes home and he's so tired. He just got off a flight and whatnot. And I took him to the bathroom and I was like, look, the little stick. I had it sitting there. And his eyes got so wide. And he was like, oh my gosh. And we hugged and we were so excited. And, it was the weekend. So we were both home. And Sunday, I noticed a little bit of bleeding and I Googled it. And I was like, oh, it might just be a little bit of implantation bleeding, what I read. But then it just kept getting heavier and heavier. So I guess it was on a Tuesday early in the morning. I woke Albert. I said, listen, I'm going to go to the emergency room. It was about 5 a.m. I hadn't slept because I was so nervous. I said, I'm going to go to the emergency room because this isn't feel right. And he's like, okay, let me go with you. And we went to the emergency room and they check your blood and they did a sonogram ultrasound, but there's nothing really they can see because it's so early.
Yes.
And they told me my HCG, which is the hormone that you produce when you're pregnant, it was very low. So the doctor was like, that's more than likely you're miscarrying. So at this point, we're sitting there and I just started crying. I was just like, I can't believe this. I don't know what's wrong with me. I looked at him, I said, what is wrong with me? And he was just like, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. And he said, let's go home and call the doctor in the morning, when it's daylight. So I'm just made an appointment with the doctor. And at this point, they pretty much confirmed that, I've had several blood tests since then. And my HCG had just been going down, further and further. So it's confirmed, that I did miscarry the baby.
I'm sorry that you've gone through so much in such a short period of time, too.
I think just like as a woman, as someone who wants to have a child, who wants to be a mother, which I consider myself a mother. I'm not going to ever let anyone take that away from me.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to protect your children. And I guess there's times where I'm like, why couldn't I protect them when they were right there? And I have to tell myself, and the one thing that my doctor had told me, it's not your fault. I understand that. It's just the emotions that you go through and the thought process that you go through. You don't know who to blame.
Mm-hmm.
So you tend to blame yourself because, it's my body. I'm the one that was supposed to protect and carry them. But I try not to live in that headspace because I don't want to be I don't want to be sad. I want to celebrate, Ace and the time I had with him. And, this child, even though I only knew about him for 4 or 5 days, and just move forward onto whatever there is for me. And I've made a healthy decision in my life that I will accept whatever God has planned for me. If I am never to have another child, I will accept that. If I have 5 children by the time I'm 50, I'll accept that. Whatever is in my path, I will accept, because I can't and this is the advice I do give to other women, is just like, we can't control what happens, and we need to think about like the here and now and focus on ourselves, our future, and if you have children, focus on your children you have, and not that you're going to forget or ever not talk about it, or I think about it every single day, and I never want to forget about it. I just want women to know that you will be okay. You will be okay.
Very wise advice, especially when you talk about, what does happen if we never get pregnant again? How do we deal with the fact that we can't control that? And is it just our fate, so to speak, or God's plan for us, or, that um, there are just some women, some of us who do not have, you know, don't raise children, the way others do. But I totally agree with your theory, your philosophy, because we don't have control over that, you know. So
Mhm.
I applaud you. I mean, I think it's a phenomenal way to look at things. It's a lot healthier, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you can be angry and turn to other things to help cope, but it's not going to make you happy. And if I'm going to sit here and say that I am a happy person. I've always been a happy person. I've always been positive, and I have to stay strong and stay resilient, because even if it's just my husband, he does depend on me. Even if it's just my little dog, he does depend on me. And I want people to know that you can be happy again, but without, and still remember your child, and still remember the loss that you had, and still, visit the sadness every once in a while, but come back, and know that you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. I think that's wise advice. Thank you. Thank you so much, Samantha, for sharing all that you did. I know it's going to help a lot of people.
I hope so.
I think so. So, is there anything else you might like to leave us with?
You know what? Like I said, you'll be okay. Just remember, you know, pray to whoever you pray to, be thankful for what you have, and don't forget about your loss, but also don't wallow in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being with us. This is just wonderful. I'm very grateful. And I send blessings to
Thank
you and
you.
Albert.
Thank you.